As you've gathered from the title of this video, you can probably know that it's going to be about making a funnel trap. These are all the materials that you're going to need to make one. You got little bolts. Mine aren't all the same because I don't have the same ones, and I was just picking up whatever I had. You'll need a screwdriver, an old 5-gallon water jug, about 10 feet of string, it doesn't have to be yellow, and a nail. 6 inches is good. And of course, the old hacksaw. Now, what you do to complete the thing is, I've already cut this open, but you use your hacksaw. If you have a better way of cutting this open, good for you. But I used a hacksaw and just cut the top off pretty close to where it stops, where the angle stops. And what you do is you just flip it around, and then you take your drill and you make holes from this part to this part, so where the holes are even together, and you want to make one continuous hole. So you're going to go through kind of like this, if you can see this going on. And I made 3 holes like this, so, but you can make however many you feel secure with. I only thought I'd need 3, so, and I spaced them equal distances from each other. Also, I used the drill to make a bunch of holes all throughout the jug. What this will do is allow water flow through the jug so that the animals that you might catch in here don't lose all their oxygen in the water, and so you have new oxygen in the water constantly coming in. After you drilled your holes, you want to flip this over and put the small part down into the jug. And then you want to align your holes up. Oh, also you need a Sharpie, because when you do that separate, it's hard to find out how they're aligned unless you make the holes perfectly even between the 3 holes. Oh, and don't unscrew these above the jar, or else you might drop one and it'll fall in, and you don't want that to happen, because then you have to take it apart again. Okay, so after you get this secured, the basic trap is pretty much done. But I tied a string to mine, so I could just anchor it on shore with a nail, maybe like stick it in the ground or something, wrap it around a branch or whatever, and just let this drift around at the bottom of the pond or whatever I put it in. And so that way I can just grab the anchor and just reel it in. And that's basically it. Whenever you make anything, you're going to come across problems. So if something happens, like one of your, I don't know, if something weird happens, you just gotta think about it and improvise with it. This isn't like a kit or anything, so it doesn't have all the pieces you need, and you can add or subtract stuff that you think is necessary or unnecessary. And otherwise, it's a really effective trap, and I've caught some cool stuff in it. So it's fun to like put in the pond by your house or whatever. And you'll be surprised at what you catch and what you don't catch. Once you pull your trap out of the water, there's some things that I learned that I thought I'd share. Is first of all, don't pull it all the way out of the water and just set it on the ground, because it's full of holes, and whatever you catch is obviously going to be dependent on water, because this is a water trap. You stick it under the water. So leave it submerged partially in the water while you're taking out the bolts and stuff to take off the top and see what you have in there. And another thing, some of the creatures you might catch, like I've caught 2 amphibians, which are basically large salamanders, and they can really bite hard. And so you just want to be careful and know what you have in there before you stick your hand in there and get your finger bit off. So that's just some friendly advice. Keep your trap in the water at a minimum amount of time as possible, because whatever you catch in here, it needs to eat, it needs to breathe, or whatever. And keep in mind that you might have snakes coming in here or whatever, and I like snakes, so if you think you might be catching snakes, you might want to leave the top of the trap outside of the water so that they have some air to breathe until you release them. As far as baits go for these things, I've only used one kind of bait, and it's kind of a sad bait. I used a hot dog for my bait, and it was effective. I caught a bass and an amphibia with a hot dog, so that was kind of interesting. But you can use whatever. You can use like ground up minnows or maybe crushed snails or something. You want something that gives off a lot of scent, because most of the animals that are coming in here at night are things that hunt mostly by scent and feeling. So you want baits that kind of smell bad, basically. And yeah, but I use hot dogs. Supposedly you can also use glow sticks. I've also not used any bait, and I caught an amphibia in it also. If you're gonna use my trap, I'd really appreciate it if you were responsible with it. Now, you're probably gonna, it's happened to me where I put it out and I kind of forgot about it until a few hours into the day, and I go out there and I open it up and I find a dead amphibia. That only happened once, and it's only going to happen once, because I've learned from my mistake. If you leave something in a container too long in a certain place where it's not naturally going to be during the day, like amphibians, they go into the mud during the day, and where it's cool and there's pretty much no current or anything. If it's in a jug, it's a completely unnatural place for it to be during the day. So make sure you get out there in the morning to check it, and just be responsible with it. Don't go to the park and just leave it in the water, because people think it's trash. It's probably better just to use it in places that people aren't going to be very often, because it really does look like a piece of trash floating in the water. You never know what's going to show up in your trap. So that's why it's so important to be there early in the morning to check your trap and make sure you haven't killed anything. Because if you kill things, that is not what I want this video for. I want you guys to be able to go out and make something for free, basically, and catch some cool stuff and have these kinds of experiences that I've been having. Because it's a lot of fun to make something and catch something cool with it. So yeah, thanks for watching.